Thank you very much and good afternoon. Dear Edward, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. This slide that you see is in blue because it stands, in my opinion, for opportunities. But it could even be black, since the projections it portrays could portend disaster unless people like you are courageous and help change society, change our educational system, change the way we do business to what the EU Commission in its Europe 2020 program calls inclusive, smart and sustainable growth. Yes, I believe, as the title of my short intervention indicates, that ICT is the fuel of the economy. In fact, I also think that data is the currency of the future, following on the financial services sector discussion before us. Scientific and technological innovation propels the economy forward. New ideas create new businesses and new jobs, improve productivity and contribute to the enhancement of human welfare. In fact, innovation is essential to Europe's ability to recover from the economic crisis and to prosper in today's highly competitive and connected global economies. The economic impact of information and communication technologies is well known. According to the European Commission, over the period 1995 to 2004, ICT drove half of all productivity gains in the European Union, mainly through efficiency gains in the sector itself and investment in ICT. Today, the ICT sector is directly responsible for 5% of European gross domestic product, with a market value of 660 billion annually. But it contributes far more to the overall productivity growth. Actually, 20% comes directly from the sector itself, and another 30% from ICT investments indirectly. According to a report of Oxford Economics, sponsored by AT&T, European states could add an additional 760 billion to their collective GDP, or an extra 5% above forecasts by 2020, by only matching the investment levels within the United States. Cloud computing alone, which has been mentioned by the Minister, will create 400,000 new SMEs in the EU, reducing unemployment rate by between 0.3 and 0.6%. Whilst, according to Vice President Cruz, the European app economy alone, now that's a very interesting sector which we could consider, like gaming, create an app industry located here. It employs 1.8 million people in 2014, rising to 4.8 million jobs by 2018, while its revenues today at 17.5 billion will rise to 63 billion euros in the same period by 2018. These are a few of the reasons why I see as an opportunities the need to create the 600 million new jobs in the next 10 years, the 2 billion people over 60 by 2050, a third of the world's population, need to be included together with the new job seekers in the digital economy. However, more of the same is not the answer. Courage to adapt to the new technologies and to invest to create the 2/3 of the uninvented new jobs by 2020, to protect people against cybercrime, to bring about the connection to the power and the internet to the 1.5 billion people who lack connection to the electricity grids today. And especially, and this is very close to the heart of Microsoft, to bring hope to the youth of today, who are suffering from double the rate of unemployment of the rest of society, and an unemployment rate that is already too high in general, but which is completely unacceptable for young people. We risk losing an entire generation. In fact, I believe what is essential is to implement the EU digital agenda as soon as can be, and to, closer to home, here in Malta, to bring about the Malta digital strategy that has been mentioned, which will shortly be released, and I look very much forward to that. As a former Microsoft Vice President, I cannot but speak to you using PowerPoint and slides. It's second nature and doesn't do it without it. But I'll try to share with you a bit what the company does in the ICT sector in Europe talk a bit about cloud computing and research and development, and then speak about our presence in Malta. This as an example of what others do. With over 180,000 registered partners in Europe, Microsoft is the heart and the engine of a strong software business and the research and development cooperation. We call this 180,000 SMEs our ecosystem. Other ICT companies have their own partners, their own ecosystems, and together we create European ICT economy. It is these partners, these notably SMEs employing between 1 and 100 employees, or even less, usually they're about 15 to 20, each within the Microsoft ecosystem of partners that make up more than a 2 million strong employee base. And these companies earn between $6 and $10 for every $1 that Microsoft earns in Europe. And together, they form this European ICT business of which I'm so proud. The local turnover of this ecosystem of Microsoft is about 109 billion euros and makes up almost 1% of the total GDP of the EU. But Microsoft is only as strong as its partners are strong, and vice versa. Our platform, our tools, the applications are enhanced by our partners' complementary innovations, so that economic value of innovation naturally compounds, sparking new innovations in a cycle that benefits Europe on many levels. In 2012, with $9.8 billion, Microsoft was the second largest investor in R&D worldwide, across all sectors, coming very close to the leader, Toyota. Horizon 2020, the EU budget for R&D, is at about 10 billion a year for 7 years. That's very close to what Microsoft spends itself on R&D every year. Of these $9.8 billion, 800 million, or almost a billion, is spent within Europe. In Europe, Microsoft opens its subsidiary in 1982. Today, it employs 18,000 people. And we always invest in the regions where the local ICT ecosystems, where there is a local government support. We prefer regions where there is a highly skilled and motivated talent pool and a supportive public policy environment for innovation to bring new products and services to the market. This is why we have set up our European cloud computing data centers in Dublin and Amsterdam. Cloud computing is going to be essential, I think, in order for the business community and governments to reach their economic targets. Companies are caught between the limitations of desktop computing and the expense and complexity of managing their own infrastructure to scale up to the needs of today. And therefore, they leave new problems, difficult problems aside because they don't have the capacity to do so, to tackle the computational needs that they have with their own home infrastructure. Therefore, cloud computing is very much a solution. For SMEs, cloud computing brings SMEs to compete with the largest companies because they get access at a very low cost only to the needs that they actually have, to the same technology that the big multinational competitors have. In fact, this cloud computing will bring $1.1 trillion by 2015 into the world economy. And I believe that for governments especially, cloud computing helps leverage data in new ways to improve accountability. In fact, there are so many internet-based services available today which use available data, as the minister mentioned as well, and allow citizens to rank crime or education or transport systems by region, by country, in order to compete. I believe that a study that was made showed that if governments went totally to use cloud computing services across Europe, 6 billion euros could be saved in 10 countries from utilizing these technologies. However, to get there, we must reduce the technological barriers and to improve the infrastructure. I think this is an open challenge to Malta because we have the infrastructure, and if we take the cloud fully and move completely into that direction, we could be the first country in the world that actually becomes completely cloud-based, bringing with it the economic benefits that the cloud actually produces. Now, to close briefly about Malta, Microsoft has been in Malta since 2003, has an office with 11 employees, but has a partner ecosystem of over 80 SMEs in Malta, employing a total of about 1,000 people. There's an agreement with government signed in 2004, renewed in 2011. It brings with it 16 community training learning centers. It has actually brought the Maltese language version of Windows, which was launched during this period. It has spread digital literacy in schools and at the university with the setting up of an IT academy. And the young Maltese programmers are starting to take part in what is the largest competition in the world, the Imagine Cup. We haven't yet won it, but just like we tend to get very close in many international contests, we have a good chance in this one as well. The value of the investments of Microsoft, since as a basis of this agreement, we think is of a value of around 50 million euros. Finally, because of this agreement, we also opened up 2 years ago a Microsoft Innovation Center in Malta, which focuses on cloud computing with a seed investment of 3 million euros, also together with 5 other partners. This is only one of around 30 mixed Microsoft Innovation Centers across the world. And why was Malta chosen? I think that is because of the strategic location of the country and its consistent industry and innovation-friendly policies over the decade where we have had a presence here. And this discussion today, I think, presages continuity in this regard. And therefore, I believe that we must continue to work together with government to support the educational system. One of the largest points we have made this last year was to give Office 365 to students in 85% of all schools in Malta. This is the highest level of this form of activity in any one of the European 28 member countries. Belgium, for example, which I know well, where I live sometimes, has about 60% of schools benefiting from this free service. Malta, with 85, almost all schools, I hope we can extend it to all of them in time, is the leader. And because of this, I think that we have a very good chance to continue to utilize our innovation center to help the startups, of which we already have 60 since we opened the center, benefiting from support to create their own industries and to become the entrepreneurs of tomorrow. And therefore, conclusion, I would like to close by saying that the slides that I've been showing may have been difficult to read, but they're available on the website of this conference. And I think that we might continue to discuss and answer any questions you might have. And I hope that I have helped you in some way to create a real impact for a better tomorrow. Thank you.